Good afternoon, folks. We are up to 86 attendees. Glad to see you all here. As a reminder, this session is being closed captioned. To subscribe to the captions, please click on the closed caption button, which will be at either the bottom of your screen or the top of your screen, depending on your device. We also have live interpreters here with us today who will be in the main window as much as possible. And we ask that when they are not in the window to use the captions as a backup. They will appear in windows depending again on the device that you logged in with. 103 people now, 104. Wow, this is great. Glad to see you all. We're setting up, getting our panelists ready and set up, and we'll get started as close to 3 as possible. Thanks for being here. All right, folks, we have 138 attendees, and it is possible that some of our panelists are in the attendee list. I'm going to ask at this time if you are a panelist and in the attendee section, if you could raise your hand so that I can quickly identify you and get you moved over to the right part of our session so we can get started. Thanks, everyone. As we wait on our final panelists, I just want to welcome the 182 attendees and remind you that this session is being captioned. To subscribe to the captions, please click on the closed caption below at the bottom of your screen. It could be at the top of your screen, depending on your device. As you can see, this session is also being interpreted with ASL interpreters who will be on the screen as much as possible throughout today's session. We'll get started in just a minute.
Evan, I have a quick question. Can you explain to folks how to raise their hands?
We're actually going to turn off that feature during the session and potentially turn it on at the end, depending on time. So that feature, but for those that need to right now, the panelists, at the bottom of your screen, there should be a raised hand option. And I do see that we have a couple that are raising their hands, so I will go move those and we'll get started.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're very welcome.
And I don't see that feature on mine, and maybe I have an outdated version of Zoom, but this is Sheila.
I can answer that, Dr. Sheila. Since you're already a panelist, you get different features. That's an option just for the attendees.
Let's see, Dr. Sheila, would you prefer a quick moment to speak before we put up the larger PowerPoint in the background so that your video is front and center before we start the PowerPoint?
Actually, no, we can just go ahead and get started with the PowerPoint. I want to make
Okay,
sure
give
we
me
have enough time at the end for questions.
excellent. Give me just a moment. I'll start the PowerPoint. I also want to once again say thank you to the 264 participants that we have with us today, and remind you that this session is being captioned. Depending on the device, to subscribe to the caption, you can click the closed caption, which will either be at the top of your screen or at the bottom. It will be a CC symbol with the words closed caption. You can also see that we have 2 ASL interpreters with us, and we will keep their video in the screen as much as possible. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our leader, Dr. Sheila Edwards-Lang, and we will officially begin. We are recording. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Great. Thank you all for joining us today. And I can hear my husband in the background after I told him that I was going to be on this call, and he's out there making noise, and I told him I couldn't mute myself. So just a moment. Honey, I can hear you. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. I want to just make sure that you all know that we did get questions at the beginning. We're going to cover those at the end, and then at the end we're going to leave time for you all to send questions by chat. The vice presidents and Scott Rickson from Human Resources will join us so that we can answer those calls. And we have about an hour together, so we want to use that time efficiently. Next slide, Kevin. Okay, so today what I want to do is do some shout outs. I want to review where we are in terms of all of these closures and remote operations, given all of the different proclamations and orders that have happened. I want to talk a little bit specifically about the governor's stay home, stay healthy order, give some clarity to our remote operations through April 27th, share some of what we're planning for spring quarter, talk about our health and safety concerns, and then the impact on enrollments, budget, and institutional viability to the extent, and then do questions and answers. Next slide. So just first of all, a huge shout out to our faculty for pivoting to online alternative modes with very, very little notice. We had to finish spring quarter fairly quickly, switching from in-person to online. It caused a lot of disruption, we know, a lot of anxiety, so I want to thank the faculty. I want to thank Kevin and his team, the library, and our IT team for providing those resources to us, because many of our students, and in fact, many of our staff, did not have the technological tools that they needed to pivot to this new reality. Our security team has just been outstanding. We are without a permanent director right now, but I can tell you that we are in great hands with Tracy Yorker, who has been with the college for a very long time and is committed to our mission. And that team has been highly responsive in this uncertain time. Our facilities team, once we found out that we had one of our students who had tested positive, stepped in and did the cleaning on top of all the other things that they do every day. So I want to thank them. Our student services teams, because it wasn't only instruction that was impacted. We had to think about how we could reach out to students and think about student success as we were going through this. And I'll tell you that the questions that have come in, this is an unprecedented time for us. We didn't have answers right away, but the student services team really put their heads together to try and figure out how we could get answers. And then our students, because they are the ones being impacted by this new way of delivering instruction, the new way of delivering student services. And we want to thank you for your patience as we are going through this. And then everyone on the campus has been flexible And this has required maximum flexibility because the information that we are getting either from King County or from the governor or even from our federal government is changing sometimes hourly. Our governor just had a press conference a couple hours ago with new information. And so we are processing new information and getting it out as fast as we can. And so thank you everyone for your flexibility as we go through this. Next slide. So I wanted to go over the dates so that everyone would know where we are, because even I am confused by the many orders, and they are not necessarily all very well aligned. So as we started this, we activated our Emergency Operations Center with our Incident Command Team on March 2nd. And that was as the information was becoming available in Seattle King County. And that was before we knew that we had a positive case. And sure enough, not even a week later, we had information that we had a student in one of our classes who had tested positive. And so then we had to quickly shift to going to remote operations and closing our Broadway Edison location so that we could do the deep cleaning and disinfecting that was necessary for us to be able to move forward. So we went to remote operations fairly quickly as we were entering the last week of instruction and moving towards finals. And so that decision was made before the governor came out, not even 6 days later, and decided that issued an order. Go back. The slide should be on the closure and remote operations. Go forward, I should say. One more, there we go. On March 17th, the governor issued an order closing all K-12 institutions and limiting public higher education to remote instruction and directing that all who could work remotely do so. And so he ordered that closure to take place until April 24th. So that's a Friday, April 24th. And just a couple of days ago, I think it was on Monday, he ordered he issued another order with a different timeline. And that timeline is March 24th to April 6th. And that closes all non-essential businesses. But we as higher education were already under this order to remain closed, to do remote instruction only until April 24th. So I think that's important for people because that means that our time that we are going to have to deliver remote instruction and actually keep the campus closed, except for essential businesses, is extended beyond the April 6th. As all of this is happening, we have multiple emergency teams that the leadership team is part of at the district level. All of the state presidents are meeting with the state board on a daily basis. We have a King County public health official who is assigned just to higher education institutions so that we can keep on top of all of the changes that are happening, that are coming out of both the CDC and our local, and the Washington State Department of Health and the local Seattle King County Public Health. So lots of moving pieces, but for us, the important part is that we have these dates. And with the governor's, next slide, with the governor's order on Monday for stay home, stay healthy, there was language in there that allows higher education institutions to have very limited functions as needed to maintain facilities and financial stability between now and April 6th. And I will say that there's some, we're still waiting for clarification on whether that's April 6th or April 8th. The governor's order actually had both dates in there, so we're trying to get clarity now from the governor's office. For Central, what that means is that only security, facilities, and IT staff, for the most part, are going to be on campus between now and April 6th. So only essential operations, core, very, very limited. So we are still prohibited from in-person instruction. And although that prohibition exempts labs, dorms, and administrative services, for us, what we need to know is that the campus is closed to the public until April, so Monday, April 27th, I think it is. And between now and April 6th, only limited people in the building. Next slide. After April 6th, or whenever the governor issues the okay to move from staying home and staying healthy, what we are doing is remote operations. And so we are trying to, we're trying to make sure that we address faculty, staff, and students who don't have the technology that they need to work from home. I think for the most part, we have gotten those taken care of, but as we start spring quarter, we know that we will have more issues. We are trying to deliver student services remotely using technology tools like Starfish and Canvas, and some of you have already used those. We're making advising appointments and doing a lot of using Zoom like this to communicate. And sometimes we just have to go back to the snail mail and mail things through the US mail to get them to people. So we are trying to limit the number of people once the governor's order from the stay home, stay healthy ends on the week of April 6th. And even between April 6th and April 27th, we are trying to limit in-person engagement and have that only be as a last resort, because we still are supposed to be working remotely. And those who can work from home will work from home. We will still be closed to the public. Students will be able to enter through the front door if they have an appointment. Faculty and staff will be able to use your Prox cards, but we are really trying to limit in-person engagement. We will continue to do the focus cleaning of high-touch areas like we did, but just know that the Broadway Edison buildings will not be open to the public. So that is a huge thing for us. We are limiting people coming in the building. I do want to say as an aside, many of you know that we have been working on a system to give students, faculty, and staff access to the building through Prox cards. That project is delayed because we were not able to get cards in the hands of students with the abrupt closure of the campus in March. So we will be communicating as soon as we get back to in-person operations about different timelines for moving forward with that. But for now, faculty and staff do have Prox cards, and you will be able to get access to the building after the week of April 6th. Next slide. So part of that is that we, for spring quarter, have made the decision, because we have this April 27th timeline where we really cannot have a lot of in-person engagement, that spring quarter will be primarily online alternative modes with very, very limited set of courses offering face-to-face instruction. And even then, they must do it with social distancing. And so when I say very few, there are basically only 4 programs right now that will be offering any face-to-face before April 27th. And afterwards, after April 27th, we will see how that goes. But we are planning now, if you start a class online, it will continue online, and we will have all online alternative modes of delivery for spring quarter. Spring quarter was set to begin on April 6th, but that instruction has now been delayed to April 13th. And we did that so that we could give faculty a little bit more time to get report to work and get to the assistance that they need to develop and put their courses online. So we will have a week for faculty to work with the e-learning and others. We will have mentors for faculty who have taught online. We'll mentor other faculties who have not had the opportunity to teach online. So we will have a week to prepare and support faculty as they move to this new reality. And then students will begin their instruction on April 13th. Again, online, not necessarily in the building, except for those 4 limited programs. And then April 27th, we are looking to see if the governor will lift the initial executive order where he closed K-12 and higher education But I will tell you that what we are hearing, although the social distancing is working in Washington, it has slowed down the virus some. That is what the governor reported in his remarks today. And we still have a long way to go in order to slow this virus down and eradicate it from Washington. So we are hopeful that we'll be able to reopen April 27th, but that is subject to a lot of data and information that will be coming out from the governor's office. Next slide. So as we are going the wrong direction, the other way. So as we come back, they're both for the limited operations, next slide, and I want to speak a little bit to health and safety concerns. So throughout this process, we have been following King County Public Health guidelines and working with our environmental health and safety team to make sure that we are cleaning our buildings properly and following the proper protocol for how we do business. As we open back up to just limited personnel on the week of April 6th, only those who are on a list and required to come into campus will do so. So I just want to make sure that we are clear that it's only a very limited number of people from the week of April 6th to April 27th. Anyone in the CDC defined vulnerable categories is not expected to come to work. And it's the governor uses age 60 and older, CDC uses 65. We should probably err on the side of caution and say over 60. Anyone with health and immune system vulnerabilities, which many of you know I fit in that category, having lupus and autoimmune diseases and take immune suppression. So there are a number of us who have existing health conditions that make us pretty vulnerable, and then folks who are pregnant. So we are not expecting you all to come to work, but we don't know individual level health information about everyone. So we're asking employees to talk with supervisors or with HR directly if you have concerns about being in one of those vulnerable categories, and if you are expected to come in between the week of April 6th and April 27th. We will have larger numbers of folks in the building after April 27. We don't know that the virus will be totally gone by then. And so one of the things that we'll continue to do is consult with public health about, are there physical barriers that are needed? I don't know if anyone has gone to the grocery store recently, but if you go to the grocery store now, you can't bring in your bags, and they have yellow lines up about where you're supposed to stand and how far apart you're supposed to stand behind anyone in line. So we'll be doing those kind of things once we get back up to full operations, until we know that we are clear of the virus. Next slide, please. So all of this is, as I said, unprecedented, and we know that it is going to have an impact on our state. It is going to have an impact on our economy. And given that our state is highly dependent on sales tax, we are really there will be an impact on the colleges going forward. We are already seeing, so there, Bradley, in the chat, I see there is no other slide to go back to. So I'm not sure. We did not skip a slide. There was no slide. So sorry, you all. There's just a chat saying, did we miss a slide? No, we did not miss a slide. It is not. So maybe you all thought that you put one in, but there isn't another slide. And so going forward, we know this is going to have an impact on our institution. We're already seeing international students who are leaving and may not come back. We're seeing it's harder. It's going to be harder for current students to enroll. And because we are totally dependent on sales tax here in the state, we are expecting state revenue collection to decline. And so while we don't know the magnitude of what this economic impact is going to be on the institution. Right now, we're anticipating that it's going to mean at least a 5% budget reduction in the next fiscal year for the college. But all of that is to say that there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now, and a lot of questions about how we move forward. I want to thank the leadership team and all of you who have stepped up to try and answer some of the questions that we have. I want to go to the next slide and have us address some of the questions that we got from online. And so one of the first one was about the labs, and in the governor's order, he specifically called out labs as something that could continue to be offered face-to-face. And there were a lot of questions about that, both online and through Information Central that have come in. And so I would like to have Dr. Bradley Lane, who is our VP for Instruction, maybe give us a little bit of insight into the lab situation.
Well, I think that there are, hi everyone, I think that there are two questions that we really hear, that we're hearing about a lot. People have specific questions about which programs, for one, are going to be authorized to meet in person. And today is Thursday. By tomorrow afternoon, that list will be made public. We've still been working with instructional deans around exactly which programs must have face-to-face instruction in order to meet the class outcomes or the program outcomes. But we have also been really actively involved with them and with faculty in trying to prune the list down so that really as few students as possible will be on campus before April 27th. So even during those first 2 weeks of class in a program that has the required face-to-face instruction components, can we push that into later weeks in the quarter? So, you know, the kinds of programs that we know are going to have face-to-face components even during the early weeks of the class are places like in culinary, certainly where there are some incompletes from the winter quarter that we need to get resolved as soon as possible. In some allied health programs like respiratory care, in some of our construction related programs like PACT at the Wood Tech Center, and in our very lowest level ESL and basic and transitional studies where there might be issues with language ability or with technology access that would prevent them from just working online from the very beginning. Post April 27th, there is a larger list of career and technical programs mostly that have the need to meet in person. We are trying to wait until after the 27th when it is hoped that social distancing guidelines will be a bit relaxed, and that longer list is going to be available starting tomorrow afternoon. What I can tell you about labs is it really will depend on the program and the instructor. You know, if students are asking, your instructor will tell you really how that instruction is going to happen. If it's going to be displaced online, if it's going to be moved toward the end of the quarter after April 27th, if there's going to be a hybrid approach. I do know, for instance, in science labs, in some areas like in life sciences, like biology faculty seems like are going to be able to move all of those labs online. In other science labs, it's going to be more of a hybrid approach, but we are experimenting with lab kits and doing other kinds of instructional activities in order to meet those outcomes. The very, very best advice that I would have for anyone is to talk with your instructors about their expectations. It is our plan that instructors will have information in Canvas for every course about how and when students are going to, you know, do the work of the class. We're in the process of reorganizing and updating the course schedule, the posted class schedule, so that in the room field, if that class is moving online, it's going to say that it's online. And in the notes field, if instructors are going to meet with class in a synchronous way, like to give a live lecture or say a Zoom lesson, that information is going to filter into the notes field of the schedule so that students know really what to what to do. I will say there's a lot of questions both that were submitted before today as well as in the kind of chat field, making sure that if someone is coming to campus and if face-to-face instruction is happening, certainly during the month of April on campus, will we be maintaining social distance? And the answer to that is yes, we absolutely have to. And it's part of why many programs are going to wait until after the 27th to bring people onto campus. If it feels like the idea of having to maintain the 6 feet of social distance and the maximum group size of 10, say, will be too difficult in order to get the work done and meet the educational outcome. That's why many programs are waiting until after April 27th to kind of bring students back onto campus. I will say we are working not only as a college but as a district around a lot of these decisions, which is why in some cases the news coming out is slower than you might expect. But tomorrow afternoon we will be able to publish the list of all the programs that are going to resume some face-to-face instruction, and even those programs that will have very, very small numbers of students back in the first 2 weeks of the quarter.
Great, thank you. I have asked the communications team to put together an FAQ for those questions that were submitted online. So we will actually have that. It won't be up until Monday, but we're trying to answer them and have it on our COVID response page for Seattle Central, so that if we don't get to your question today, know that there will be an answer there. One of the questions that came in was around financial aid and when financial aid will be offered, concerns about veterans and international students and the restrictions against them having online instruction and getting access to their benefits. So there has been federal action taken to allow for online instruction for veterans. So that has been taken care of. Same for international students. We are working with the federal government on that. So just know that Seattle Central is not alone. This is a national issue. So a lot of national policies are changing to make it more flexible for students like veterans and international students to continue their instruction, even though we are doing online instruction, which was previously prohibited by those programs. And I see that Dr. Yoshiko Harden, who's our VP for Student Services, joined by phone. I'm not sure if she can
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. So one of the questions was, how does this impact financial aid distribution, and when will I get my refund or the distribution after tuition is paid?
Sure, thank you. Sorry, folks, that I'm not there, but I'm here by phone. So the plan with financial aid now is that they will start releasing the refund checks or the refunds for students starting April 13th, the first day of the quarter. And also kind of with the caveat that this is subject to change as Kyle, our director of financial aid, and his team are still continuing to analyze new legislation and guidance that we're receiving. But this is consistent across Seattle colleges that April 13th will be the day that students start to have access to their refunds. I don't know if you want me to say anything else about financial aid.
While we have you, can you talk about access to student services like the gym, tutoring and placement testing?
Yes, so to Sheila's point earlier around the dates where kind of core services could reopen for some very limited in-person or face-to-face transaction. So we've identified in student services that it's admissions, registration, financial aid are really the three main areas where we would need perhaps some face-to-face interaction. And so our plan right now is that during that period, it would be by appointment, and it would be a triaging to make sure that it's the last resort, that the student actually has to come in to complete a transaction. All other services, so like tutoring, counseling, advising. They will stay remote, for example. The Mitchell Activity Center as a health center will probably most likely will remain closed until we get other information. But when the quarter starts, they're looking at ways to offer kind of classes as well as from a remote standpoint. So the core services are really admissions, registration, and financial aid. That would be by appointment, and we're working on kind of setting those hours and what that would look like. For folks on the call, this might be too much information, but we're very entwined with kind of cashiering, and so we're just trying to work with other departments to make sure that we're not overtaxing students and making them come multiple times when they don't need to.
Well, I think the main message is that we're trying to, between April 6th and the lifting of the governor's order April 27th, have as few people in the buildings as possible. So I'm limiting the number of in-person engagements that we will have. And we will have the library and computer services will have limited availability to support students that are beginning that week of April 6th. Or I'm saying the week of April 6th because we don't know what the date is when the governor is going to lift the stay home, stay healthy order. So the week of April 6th, and then for sure April 13th, once instruction starts, there will be limited again access to services, but we're hoping to get back to, I'm not sure we'll ever be back to normal, but to full operations sometime after that April 27th order is lifted. So we had a question about access to offices and faculty and staff who want to get access to their offices. Because of the governor's order around stay home, stay healthy, which is in effect until the week of April 6th, no, unless you are on the list, we are not asking people or encouraging people to leave their homes to come to their offices to get things unless you absolutely need it to prepare for instruction. But really, we are all supposed to be staying home for the governor's order and only leaving for grocery stores, doctor's appointments, and to go for walks. So we are working remotely until then, and everybody who can should be working remotely. After the week of April 6th, after the governor lifts the stay home, stay healthy order, yes, then faculty and staff will be able to access their offices. But again, between April 6th and April 27th, we are still working remotely. So we are still trying to limit the number of people in the building and the exposure to the virus until then. So hopefully that answers that question. Someone asked a question about the wait list and how is that going to work? And Dr. Lane, do you want to try and address that question?
The waitlist will work the same way that it ordinarily does. We will continue to monitor classes that have waitlist and open sections, especially fully online sections, when the waitlist allows us to. Right now, that kind of lets me open the door to talking some about canceling classes in spring and opening classes in spring. As you can imagine, the enrollment is really unpredictable right now. Students do have the ability, even as we're sitting here, to enroll online and to pay online, to register online. We've never really done the start of a quarter predominantly online this way, so we're not entirely sure what the enrollment picture will look like. One thing that I can say is that working with our partners in Seattle Public Schools, because they also don't have a lot of clarity around what the rest of the year will be like for K-12. They are sending a lot of juniors and seniors who could qualify for Running Start into community colleges to finish high school requirements because they're just not sure if they'll get to go back this year. So we've been wanting to also keep sections open and have sections available in case there are increases in high school student enrollment. So I would say it is not a bad idea if you're trying to register for classes to get on a wait list, because I do believe we will open classes when wait list allows. Similarly, we will likely be running more lower enrolled sections, just because it's very unpredictable what enrollment is going to be like for the next few weeks. And we may or may not be busier when the campus opens on April 7th for some in-person by appointment kind of student service functions. We definitely don't want to be in a situation where we are turning students away if they're trying to register for classes, especially given the kinds of points the president made about our own kind of institutional stability and sustainability coming out of a quarter like the spring quarter, where our enrollment may be very, very down. So I would encourage people to get on wait lists, and we'll certainly open sections as quickly as we can.
Okay, and just for clarification, so the Broadway Edison building is closed until 27th. The Health Education Center is actually not owned by the college, but it has gone to limited hours in terms of 8 to 5. Our programs there, though, are closed. And so the HEC building, our academic programs that are at Pacific Tower, those are not available to the public until after the governor lifts the stay home, stay healthy order. And Wood Technology, Maritime are also closed. So unless they are, there is, and Dr. Lane referred to, there are some programs that for purposes of accreditation need in face-to-face instruction, but even that will not start until April 13th if those programs are on that list. So for the most part, the campus is closed to the public until April 27th. And we are doing online instruction beginning with faculty working the week of April 6th and students returning to online instruction April 13th, except for very limited number of programs that require some face-to-face instruction. And as Dr. Lane said, if we cannot figure out a way to do those with social distancing, we will not offer them, or we will not allow face-to-face instruction without the social distancing being required. And going back to some of the other questions that came in before we came, so limited access to computers and internet. What resources can we provide to students to take their courses online? So we are working to make sure that if students have need for technology, one of the things that has happened though, because of every college in the country going to online, the availability of Chromebooks and laptops have become a premium. So we have orders in, but we can't get the technology. We are trying. That is why the library and the computer labs will open back up the week of April 6th to allow students access to come on campus if necessary, if needed, to get access to Wi-Fi and to computer stands. But we are really trying to provide, if you are a staff person or a faculty person and you need access to technology, please let your supervisor know that so that we can get you on the list to get that equipment to you. One of the things that we're hearing a lot though is people not wanting to use their personal computers at home because they think that it's going to be subject to public records. Our public records officer sent out a communication about that yesterday. You can use your home computer without fear of it being subject to public records, as long as you are saving your documents on the My Desktop, and everybody should have gotten access, faculty and staff have access to that. So save your work-related documents on the college servers and not necessarily on your home computer. So we are not going to be able to provide everyone, if you have a computer at home that is like mine, old and needs to be replaced, we're not going to be able to give people new computers and new technology. So that if you're teaching a class that requires some technology that you don't have access to at home, we ask that you work with your dean so that we can get a list of those things and provide that information, that capability to you. Okay, so I'm looking at one of the questions here. Have we considered setting up ways to communicate remotely with students, such as a chat with me button on the website? And we actually do have that. Our outreach team has been fielding chat calls. And Dr. Yoshiko, do you have something to say or to provide us with more information about that? I just want to thank that outreach team. They've done a great job, and the volume of chats that they are taking on right now is incredible.
Yeah, hi, it's Yoshiko. So we've had a live chat feature for a while now, and as we pivoted to moving remotely, the admissions and outreach and really Gina's leadership and Christopher Mond, they have it staffed 9 to 5 every day. And so the live chat feature, kind of chat here, will appear if someone is there on the other side, is how it works when you go to the website. And so that's been really helpful. And they're fielding a lot of questions, you know, of course, very different questions. What do I do if I feel like I've been exposed to? How do I, what's happening with my financial aid or registration? And it has increased tremendously. Info Central students are also helping field that. And so we're happy that we had it, and it is helping kind of with some concerns and just overall stress. So that will continue.
Okay, and one of the questions that also continues to come up is how will students get their books? And we're continuing to work with the bookstore on this issue. And the initial idea was to mail books out, but we know that many of our students are housing insecure, and that is not necessarily a solution for them. And so we are continuing to work through that. Continue to look at our website for updates and information. As I said, all of the questions that are being asked, we will try and include those into our FAQ so that we you know, at least get some of those questions answered. I told you in the email, we don't have answers to all the questions because they're coming up, and information is changing quickly. So that is definitely the case with the bookstore. We were under the impression that the bookstore could mail books, but one of the things we found out is they actually mail them from the physical location. So they would actually have to get access and open the bookstore back up on our specific location and mail from there. And that is not possible right now. So we're scrambling, trying to come up with another solution other than the bookstore staff being required to come in. Someone said that the
Sheila?
yes.
Hi, Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I had one more thing, but I'll wait till you're done.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, there was a question that's come up around just FAQs around for student services in general. And Christina Mostad has been pulling that together and working with all the different departments. And so we'll have that done most likely by Monday and sent to us. So that will be posted, and we're preparing one for external folks and then also internal. And that would be things like, how do I access this remotely? What's the correct email? And so just preparing that.
Okay. Someone posed the question of what if we are required to stay home longer than April 6th or longer than April 27th? And we are, you know, as I said, the information is changing daily and hourly. The governor just, at his press conference a couple hours ago, said that he may extend the April 6th time. So we are already, our emergency operations team, we're meeting daily now. So we take the new information and then try and figure out a solution to it. So I don't know what we would do if we had to close the college completely for the rest of the quarter. And as it is, we are opening very limited operations after the week of April 6th. I guess we would continue to do that and continue to operate online for the rest of the quarter. But that would mean, though, that for those programs that require face-to-face instruction, that we're planning to do sort of theory in the beginning and then later in the quarter have that face-to-face instruction, we would have to come up with another solution. So I don't know that we have an answer to if we are required to be closed longer than April 27th. Will students be provided Zoom and Canvas orientations? And so Bradley or Kevin, you want to speak to that?
So this is Kevin. We are definitely working with instructors to teach them how to use Zoom, and we are including Zoom resources in the student touch points that we have. For example, these Canvas orientation for students. And then we will be working with IT to see if we can't come up with some live Zoom session opportunities.
And when are books borrowed from the library due? So libraries are closed and they will remain closed until the week of April 6th or 7th, and only then very limited operations just to allow students access to technology. And so my guess is that you're not going to be able to turn that library book in if it's due now until the week of April 6th, when we open up for unlimited things. I'm sure I'll channel the librarians who are incredible at supporting student success, that we will work with folks and as needed to have library books returned when we fully go back to full operations after April 27th. And so this is a Bradley question. I'm not sure about this. With the move to online courses, will students be allowed to register for multiple courses occurring at the same time?
We think so, yes. As long as the courses are 100% online and don't have the face-to-face component or a synchronous component, such that, say, the course used to be a 9 a.m. psych course, and while you're going to do a lot of the work online, the teacher still wants to do a lecture at 9 a.m. on certain days. There should be ways for students to register for courses that are 100% online and asynchronous, even if they would have normally been scheduled at the same time.
Okay, and just another question about the library. The doors are locked through April 26th. We will allow limited access after the week of April 6th to April 26th for students and faculty only. So it is closed to the public, but for students and faculty in limited numbers. I keep saying limited numbers. And so the folks that need to access computers because they don't have that technology at home, if we're not able to get students a Chromebook, then we will have limited access to computers, but very limited. So, and the building will be essentially locked except for students and staff. So another question came in about when will a call be made about summer and graduation? And I think as information becomes available, once we know if the governor lifts the order for closing K-12, if he extends that beyond April 27th, I think that has severe implications for us for summer quarter. Depends on how long that order goes. And there's some talk at the K-12 level about just going all the way through June. And so if we did that, that would have severe repercussions for our summer quarter. So we are making the call as information becomes available to us. Graduation, we just started talking about statewide commencement ceremonies. As many of you know, semester schools around the state, including WSU, have canceled their commencement exercises. Those of us who are in the quarter system, our commencement exercises are not until late June. So we do have a little time, but not much. So we are, as a system, waiting to see if the governor extends the Stay Home, Stay Healthy program and how far he would extend it. And we will make a call when we get that information from the governor about commencement and most likely about summer quarter. So within the next 10 days, we will be making the call on commencement. And then shortly thereafter, we would know more about summer quarter as well. The question, why does culinary open and not Wood Tech? Culinary is actually only doing a very limited 5th quarter classes to get them to graduation. They are not doing all of their programs. So it's not that we are saying one versus the other. We're trying to get students to graduation in that limited program.
Yes, and right now the programs at Wood Tech are not canceled. The faculty are making plans and do have plans for continuing remote and other alternate kinds of instruction. The classes are still going to continue. Some of the decisions around which courses are going to have face-to-face components, whether before April 27th or after, have to do with to what extent is it possible to meet the outcomes without being together in the same place at the same time, and to what extent do programs have external requirements based on organizations that give them accreditation? So one major difference is culinary has an external accreditation from a national commission that requires it to meet certain kinds of hours. The Wood Tech programs don't have that same kind of external accreditation. There are many factors that go into these decisions, but if you are a student, for instance, the best thing that you can do is talk with the instructors. They will tell you how you're going to meet and how you're going to accomplish the objectives of the course.
And one of the questions, Dr. Lane, and while you're still on, is will faculty be compensated for the time needed to develop online classes and participate in training? And will faculty be prevented from holding their classes synchronously?
Yeah, those are different questions. My understanding around the compensation piece, I mean, one thing that we are doing, we have converted what was formerly the first week of the quarter into non-instructional time because we know people need some time to make plans and make adjustments. We know that that isn't the sum total number of hours that people would spend making these changes. Your faculty collective bargaining union, AFT, I believe, has sent you information about keeping track of the hours that you're spending making conversions. What I have to tell you is in order to pay faculty really at that scale, at that amount, when we look at all faculty in all sections across all of the colleges, that has to be bargained. And I do know that AFT is in the process of having communications with the chancellor about that, but that's not a commitment that I individually can make. That is something that's being bargained right now. So you really have to work with your union about that question. In terms of, there was another question about, I can't remember what the other question was.
Synchronous classes, can you offer them at the same time?
Can you offer synchronous classes? The guidance, so I will say yes, you can. But I also want to say, meaning that could I, if I were going to teach a 9 a.m. psychology class, say to my students, we're going to have to do a lot of this work online, but I would still like to lecture at 9 a.m. on the days the class is scheduled. Honestly, I think your best practice is to record your lecture, your Zoom lecture. Let those students who are able to attend at that 9 a.m. time do so, but really try not to penalize students who can't, because I know that your lives are as disrupted as our students are. Many of us are dealing with childcare. Many of us are dealing with very changed work schedules, or partners who may have very different changed, or family members who have very different changed work schedules. And we're just trying to adjust and make it all happen. So I think requiring everyone to be at a synchronous lecture when you have the technological ability to just record it would be a better practice. But certainly, I think having the option of that live lecture and letting students who are available to attend do so would be a fine practice. I do know that eLearning has issued us some guidance about those kinds of decisions, but you have the academic freedom to make those kinds of choices. I just want you to maximize the ability of students to access the course and to be successful at it.
So I'm conscious of the time, and there were a couple of questions about ongoing sanitation, cleaning of common spaces and high-touch surfaces. And I want to assure you that we are continuing to do those things, and we had started that actually right before we closed. And Lincoln from Administrative Services, is there anything you want to add to that?
I just want to add that we'll be cleaning as people are occupying. In other words, if you have to come in for some reason to the Broadway Edison building, please check in with security so we know where you've been, so we can go behind you and clean afterwards.
I think one of the things that's happening now is because the virus is out in the community, and this is why the governor issued his stay home, stay healthy, you should assume that that everyone that you come into contact with may have the virus. So that just requires a different way of behaving. And that means staying home if you have compromised immune systems. One of the questions that someone asked was, if you have a compromised immune system, should you take a lab class that's in person? That's a personal decision. I'm compromised immune system. I would say no. I would not take that class. I would make decisions based on that for my own personal health. So no one can really tell you and make that decision for you, but I think that everybody is doing that on an individual level as we're going forward. Then the leadership team will be evaluating all of these questions. Most of these will be incorporated into the FAQ that we'll have up on the website on Monday. And we will be evaluating this form and whether or not we should have another one before we start instruction. It seems like it's been helpful for people, and maybe we can start, if we do another one, we can answer any additional questions that come up. But I want to thank you all for making time for this today. I also just want to, again, thank you for taking on this very technical work that we have to take on in order to deliver these services in a different way. And one of our faculty members earlier today on a call said, and not only is it technical work, but it is emotional work. And this is a very stressful time for all of us. And so I appreciate your patience and your commitment to the mission and your flexibility as we go through this, as information changes hourly. So with that, I will turn it over to Kevin to wrap us up. If your question did not get answered, look for it on the website under the FAQ next week. It'll be posted by the end of the day on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sheila. I want to thank everybody who came today. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. I also want to thank our interpreters, Drew and Amanda, and our captioner, Michelle, and our support team from eLearning, Robin and Jesse, and our panelists for being here today. Thank you, everybody. We're going to end the meeting now, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Stay healthy.
Thank you.